I think it actually works. There's a dial tone on here. I've seen some really small post offices in my travels, and this is probably one of the smallest ones I've ever seen. Just entering Manhattan, Nevada. There's an operational gold mine just outside of the town too, we noticed. Oh, look at that building there. Is that the courthouse, you think?
I do not know. There's a yurt for sale.
Oh, here we go. You want to go up there and check it out? Is it right there?
Look at the church. I definitely want to do that. I'm gonna get a photo
it's a church or something. I think it's a street right here, Gold Street. You want to make a
Let's
left
just
right
pull
here?
over here? Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even paved.
No, it's not. Well, we'll just park and, you know, it's open, whatever that is. Because it's got a sign up there that says open.
You want to take a look?
Yeah, I do.
Well, here's the welcoming committee here in Manhattan. Got Sassy and we got Whizzer. And they're just so friendly. Hey, little buddies. No, I don't have any cat food for you. Yeah. And this is the Library Slant Community Center here in town. And the librarian, she said that there's basically about 80 people in Manhattan, Nevada. I'm in the library here in Manhattan, and they also have a very nice local mining museum. And I was fortunate to run into a local who said he's a little bit bashful. He doesn't want to go on camera, but he will be, he said he would do a short interview and just share some of the knowledge of the gold mining that occurred here in Manhattan, Nevada. And here's a display here who's talking about a little bit about these rocks here. We've got some gold here, right?
Well, there are specimens that have been collected by one of the people that's a native of Tonopah. He's lived here about 40 years now, 50 years. And he's owns about half the town, actually. Anyway, the gold here is like 60% gold and the rest is mostly silver. So it's not real good-looking gold.
Right.
But it's responsible for the 1905 discovery of gold in the camp and the fact that thousands of people came here in the big gold rush.
In 1905.
In 1905. The hills were covered with little tent shacks with people that had been here.
Wow, a gold rush.
Basically there was big doings in Tonopah and Goldfield, and the new gold rush in Manhattan in 1905 drew them all here.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a big deal until the first winter came, and at 7,000 feet things got pretty cold, so a lot of them left.
Yeah. How much snow do you normally get here?
Well, inches, 50, 60 inches a year.
But that cleared out a lot of the prospectors in the rush.
That pretty much run a whole bunch of them off after the first year.
Yeah.
And the ones that stayed were the hardy ones. After the hard rock mines started producing.
Talk about these important pictures here, these photographs.
Well, the top picture is
White caps?
What the white caps looks like in the 40s, I believe. The lower picture shows the white caps while it was in production. And it was one of the first mines that was permanent here and kept a steady staff on.
Oh, okay.
Even in the winter, people lived here while they were snowed in. So the mine operated all year long.
Wow, all year. I really like this campground over here by Belmont. We had a good little spot here in this big rock block the wind last night. We had a pretty heavy thunder shower and we didn't get wet at all. It's got a little bit of a slope. There was some water that came around the base right here, but the tent's almost dry already and it's early in the morning. Well, Kelly and I had a real pleasant spot for the night. It had a pretty heavy thunder shower and the tent didn't leak whatsoever, and we're getting ready to start off our hike up the side of this mountain and see what we can see. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm standing on that big rock right behind where our tent is pitched. You can see the valley behind me. It's a lot more lush and greener out here than we were expecting. It's very, very pleasant area. So our campsite is right down there. We just started our hike this morning. We're going up the side of the mountain here, and you can see into the valley there how green and full of these junipers it is, and the pinyon pine. And we've already found quite a few of these blooming cactus up here, and they're rather large size too. Look at these. And these thorns, yes, those thorns are really sharp, and even the ones with the longer thorns are sharp. But there's several of them up in this side of the hillside here, and you see it's early morning, the sun's coming up. The view is really starting to open up as we get higher up the side of the mountain. It's really very scenic up here. So you can see the town pretty well?
Well, I can see part of it.
Yeah. I can see our campsite from here really well.
Yeah, I can see my car. Look at that spectacular view over there of those rocks. Isn't that pretty?
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like too how you can see out over here in the morning over this valley, this extensive valley, and you can see for miles and miles. If there's one little antelope out there, we could follow them the whole way. The early morning sunlight is fast changing the lighting on this. This is an interesting shrub common to Nevada. And if you look at the foliage, they look kind of like straws or something. It's a very, very odd looking plant. But Kelly knows a little bit about this.
It's a ephedra, where you could make squaw tea out of it. And, you know, it supposedly cures some ailments like kidney problems and some other things too as well.
And there's another one. So I got a theory about these flowers, Kelly. We were looking at these type of flowers earlier this morning when it was a little bit cooler, and they weren't quite as wilty, but if you notice, they're already starting to wilt. And I have a feeling they just don't like the heat. And most of the white colored flowers are pollinated at night by moths. So I have a feeling that these are actually a night flowering type of a wildflower that's pollinated by moths. That's not a hummingbird, it's a hawk moth. See it? Look how big it is. It looks like a hummingbird, but it's not. It even flies like a hummingbird. So this is quite a big patch of these desert mallow, and we've really been enjoying these, and you can see how beautiful they are.
There's so many orange ones.
Yeah, some you will find though are more red.
Yeah, they are. There's different shades of orange.
And some of the patches seem to last almost through the entire summer. Not sure
Unless
about.
it gets real hot, then
Right.
they'll kind of diminish. But yeah, you can pretty much count on these kind of flowers showing up.
So Kelly was over at my house and I was showing her along the driveway where I collected some of the seeds from this type of a plant, and they've come up and I've got all kinds of them sprouting around the property, so that's nice.
You get a few more and you'll have them all over.
Yeah. Don't have to water them, don't have to mow them.
No, they just show up.
This is not a road, it's not a path. It's a little dry stream, like a wash, a little wash. And we had some thunder shower right here last night, so it might have got a little water last night, but the ground is so porous it dries out just almost immediately. So tell me about this dredge here that was in town.
So the dredge started up the hill from the flat in 1938, and in 10 years it got to the entrance, the Narrows at Manhattan. It worked through the war because it didn't need dynamite to operate, and it worked 24 hours a day using electricity and water from Peavine Creek.
Okay. Tell me about what was so interesting about this dredge during the war years, during the Second World War.
Well, in 1942, the government decided they needed all the dynamite for a war effort.
Right.
And so with people being drafted and all, there were no middle-aged men here to run the dredge. So all during the war, the dredge was run by older folk and young people that were too young to be drafted.
Interesting.
So this is the road to Tonopah, and right here is a livery that a fellow by the name of Jim Coop ran. He was a teamster and brought stuff in, supplies, lumber, and so on from Tonopah with big dray horses until about 1908, I guess, and then they converted over to motor-driven vehicles, and so he got rid of the horses. Later on became one of the legends in the town. He was a miner, a prospector, set up a drag line on the side of Gold Hill, and was one of the early prospectors who didn't piss off his who didn't lose his mining interest.
What was the maximum population in?
Well, people believe that there were about 2,000 folk
Oh,
here.
okay. 2,000. Here's just a quick panorama of the historic town of Manhattan, Nevada. Here's a nice little Nye County property here. I tell you, some of these Nye County properties over here in Manhattan are just oozing with character. You wonder what kind of a eccentric maybe it may have lived here at one time. I kind of think it's interesting and cool myself. Kelly, tell me what you learned about this church over here in Manhattan.
That it was moved here originally from Belmont, and that's the original one. And
Oh, that's the church that we saw yesterday over
yes,
there.
and there's a replica in Belmont.
Oh, that's a replica, but this is the original one.
This is the original one. That's why that one was such in good shape, because it's not the original, it's a replica. This is the original from there.
Interesting. Let's go over there and take a look at it.
Yeah, let's do.
Here's the old Belmont historic church, and you can see how interesting it is with that tin roof and so forth. This is the original one right here, and I'm sure glad Kelly had an interest in this. So we've seen the original here, and we've also seen the replica that's being used today.
In Belmont.
Right. A little bit rough, it's kind of missing a window, but I guess I still have weddings and use the church. At the front steps just aren't safe right at the moment, and you really can't really go inside with the door, but this window's broken. Well, the facilities here are fairly clean too. Bar is still open, you know, it's limited hours, but it looks like they have barbecues back here. You can stop in, you're doing some fishing or whatever, and outdoor adventure, come in here, get a beer, get a hamburger off the grill, hang out here in the back. Looks like it could be some fun times actually. And then right next door is a modern, newer motel with plenty of parking. Here's the old vault in the old Nye County, Nevada bank. I'm not going to walk across that, it's not safe. Well, we're just heading up outside of Manhattan, just find a little picnic spot for lunch, and we saw a big interesting formation on the mountain up here, and we're going to see if we can get close to it. Gravel road's pretty good shape. Well, that sure was enjoyable, everyone, spending some more time with my friend Kelly on some adventures. Thanks for joining me. Fun little cart because I only live 2 blocks from the hardware store. The one I planted last year. I've got this one I just planted. I've got one more here. What I have to do is just level this out right here to kind of make a ditch. And so in the desert, when you're irrigating, the water will go in there. And then I've got to lower this section right here so that I can make another row going down here. Got them all spaced out. I'm really liking how my little vineyard came out. I've got 10 different grapes and several different varieties. They're all seedless table grapes, and they're either red or blue purple. I don't have any white or green ones, but you can see how it came out like that. I like to freeze them in the wintertime and then make smoothies with them or eat them fresh. You can make raisins out of them too if you want. See where I've got the ditches on either side of the row, and that way it'll catch the rainwater and it's easier to irrigate. You can see how after this heavy thunder shower, all the water over here went in the vineyard, and it never came out of the vineyard, never came out. Just filled up. It was a lot of water too. Never came out. Well, you can see how deep these holes had to be for these posts, especially the end post. And then this one here, it had a tree root. See where the stump is? Just had to get a hatchet and work around that. See how deep I had to put these posts in there. And then you can see the amount of rocks I had put in to kind of keep the post stabilized in there. But you got to remember, these get really heavy, and once they start putting on fruit and it gets a lot of weight and a high wind, you want to make sure these posts are in well.